and we talk about the end of humanity.
I don't want to leave you, but I have to go.
I'll keep our kids safe.
There's a memo sent from this installation. Pretty obvious nobody back home bothered to read it.
Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews. I'm your host Gary, and of course joining me today is Ian.
Hello.
And we've just got back from seeing 2013 movie World War Z by director Mark Forster and starring Brad Pitt. Now, this film has been in production for quite a while. It's had quite a history of director-actor issues, script issues. But lo and behold, all of the trailers came out. Hollywood has blown up the zombie apocalypse onto the big screen with all of the special effects and budget that they could throw at it. And Ian, why don't you tell us the story of World War Z?
Well, if we're going with the story of the film, we follow Brad Pitt's character Jerry, who is an ex-UN inspector, and he starts the film with his family, and they realise something's going wrong when they are stuck in traffic in Philadelphia, and there's just lines and lines of cars just all over the place, and it just literally all kicks off there. We are thrust straight into a zombie apocalypse.
Joe, baby, you gotta get back in your seat.
Wait, get your belt back on.
People are just being pulled down, things are exploding, it's just run as fast as you can and get to somewhere safe, which Jerry does manage to, and he gets aboard a boat, and then he's told by his ex-boss,
He's
told, you need to go here and you need to find a cure.
Otherwise, we're going to kick your family off the boat.
Pretty much.
For themselves. Can't help you. Can't leave my family.
Take a look around here, Mr. Lane. Each and every one of these people are here because they serve a purpose. There's no room here for non-essential personnel. You want to help your family? Let's figure out how we stop this. It's your choice, Mr. Lane.
He's gone, 24 hours, and they kicked the family off the boat anyway. It is actually a zombie film. One of the biggest things, one of the biggest confusing parts about the film initially when we've seen the adverts is we're seeing these hordes and hordes of zombies, which is fantastic because we've never actually seen that many zombies in a movie or moving like they do, thanks to to CGI. And so they are actually zombies. Just they are undead. They are people that have died and come back to life.
Yeah. So
they are your typical zombies. They do class as zombies. However, they are animated and raged, just like the 28 Days Later zombies.
Wow. See, now I was all ready to destroy this film as soon as I saw the trailer and I saw them running. And it immediately took me to 28 Days Later, and I'm like, they're not zombies, they're infected. But the film does explain, these people die, they come back to life, and they are excited. They are aggressively excited. And I was just like, okay, now we're going back to Dawn of the Dead, 2008. They're running zombies. They are scary.
I wouldn't necessarily say that they're scary.
Wow,
I would say that
hordes.
It's the hordes, because I don't think the zombies are actually that scary in this film. I think that that World War Z it's got a PG-15 or a 15 certificate rating, and I have to be honest, I think this probably could have passed as a PG movie.
Yeah,
it really wasn't that scary. Now, to its credit, it didn't hit you with loads of jump scares, which are typical of horror movies. So it wasn't cheap in that regard. But the film does build up the tension a couple of times when Brad Pitt's getting like this sixth sense of something's about to happen or something's wrong, or he's picking up on little survival tips that due to his training.
Yeah.
Based on the zombie survival book as well by Max Brooks, you start to see him starting to fit together all the things that he's going to need to survive or to find the answers.
Yeah. I see this film. I was a bit worried at first, when we heard that they were making World War Z. I love the book. The book is really in depth of the before, middle, and after of a zombie apocalypse. But with Brad Pitt, we are thrust into it. It is happening to us, and we are just surviving along with him. I believed his character a lot more than I believed John Cusack's in 2012. Just the stress that it was putting onto him. He was noticing all these little things while everybody else was just running. There's just gunfire going off, and he's like, I've got to remember that. Yeah. I've got to remember that. I've got to tell people about it. And I was also worried about when you see it in the trailer with his family. I was like, oh, here we go. His family's he's just going to want to get back to them. But
it was reminded me of War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
it was the whole Tom Cruise,
family
moving through the apocalypse as it was happening. That was what I had a feeling the film was going to be about.
But as soon as he was given the choice, well, it wasn't really a choice. It was. You go here, or we're kicking your family off, and he's like, "I'm doing this for my family." So you actually feel a little bit more attached. You want him to get home because he's got this family to look after, and then the family gets shipped off. So you're wanting him to do his job right, so that he can help not only his family but the rest of the world. Because obviously you hear about all the different cities that have fallen. The world fell very quickly.
Yeah, within a matter of days.
Yeah,
and. One of the things I really got excited about the movie for was that it was going to deal with the apocalypse as it happened. Nearly all of the best zombie movies and TV series usually pick up after the moment that it's all happened, after the dust is settled, and then it's the surviving of the apocalypse. This film actually hits you right at the beginning when it's all happening. And the pandemonium, the chaos and terror of nobody knowing exactly what's happening is really well captured in this film. And again, but that's because it's not really been done very well before. So at least the film fits a niche of filling in that last piece of zombie jigsaw of actually seeing it realised. I
was really worried with this film that they would live in that weird universe where zombies exist, but no history of zombies has ever happened. That you don't have George A. Romero, you don't have Resident Evil or The Walking Dead, but you get the feeling in this film that they have seen those films. They have seen zombies before in films and TV, but they haven't seen them up close and personal. And
they don't reference it exactly.
No, but they use the word zombie, and they believe in the word zombie. There's that spoilers, but there's that guy in Jerusalem who's like, I heard the word and I believed it. Mm-hmm. I know what this word means, and I just had to get prepared. And it was like, okay.
Yeah, the film has, I would say, two fantastic set pieces, and that is one of the opening ones, as we just said, where the zombie outbreak first occurs in the major city, and then there's another huge set piece in Jerusalem. Obviously, Brad Pitt's character is now flying around the world to try and find all these clues and puzzles to try and find a vaccine or a cure or some way to save mankind. So he ends up in Jerusalem, and they've got a massive wall all the way around the perimeter, and they're letting people in. And I like the line where he says,
cages.
Yeah, I like the line where he says, for every person we save is one less zombie we have to shoot. Yeah, it's so that when the zombies do attack that compound, and you have the helicopters flying around, you have the big M60 machine guns, you have buses that are being knocked over just by the sheer weight of the zombies. It's really quite tense and riveting, and unfortunately it's over pretty quickly, and I would say you don't get too close to the action either. You kind of, just like in War of the Worlds, you're moving away. You're constantly trying to move away from where it's all happening.
Yeah, so, for a zombie film, there isn't that much gore.
Now that is my biggest complaint about the movie, and this is the reason why I say it would be a PG movie, is because for a zombie movie there is no decapitations.
Yeah.
There are no disembowelments. There is no zombies eating anybody at all through the entire movie.
I did see a couple. The crazy thing is, I was watching this film and I thought to myself, I'm going to buy this on DVD because there is a lot happening in the background while you are following Jerry or the helicopters or the army that you won't see the first time. And I did notice people being jumped on and being grabbed and then being piled on by 4 or 5 others. You're not down there watching them get ripped apart, but you're like, there's a guy gone, there's a guy gone. You know, you're just seeing people piled. The airplane scene.
Again, no blood, no gore, just zombies just jumping on people. It really is the most watered down zombie experience I have ever come across in any form of zombie film, TV, comic book.
But they were trying something new, you know.
No, they weren't. They were trying to make a movie that appealed to a mass market.
Yeah.
Hollywood or the filmmakers literally took all of the other zombie stuff that's been going on for the last sort of 10, 15 years in all of its forms, took it all together, threw it in a ball and threw it out without regards to any kind of faults about scripting and dialogue, because some of the actors have even said, we improvised some of this stuff, and it shows. Unfortunately, it shows. You're really lucky that you had Brad Pitt, who has a charisma and energy about him that could lead you through the movie. However, when I watched it, I didn't think he really cared about his family. It seemed really tacked on. It seemed like an excuse to tie him into the movie, but he didn't really seem to care. It was really despondent kind of messages.
Now at the same time, we also know already the history, the problem they had in preparation and production for this film. So obviously a lot of the scenes are kind of chopped together really easily. You have the quiet scenes, then the action scenes, then you have Brad Pitt phoning his wife, you know, and them having a conversation. And so I was just like, I want to see more blood, I want to see more guts, but this is not what I came to see World War Z for. I wanted to have zombies. I wanted to see the apocalypse. And I really hope they go for a trilogy, because if that's the end of World War Z, then bring on the next Night of the Living Dead, because I want brains, I want guts, I want gore, you know.
I want a proper zombie movies. It like I said, it just feels like a watered down version, and so I'm going to have to say I recommend that you do watch the film just because it does fit the gaps of some of the other zombie movies, like I said, the big apocalypse, but don't expect to be blown away. It has no ending. And as you're saying about making it a trilogy, there are some fantastic set pieces, but the last half an hour is so dull. It is so... it turns into a stealth movie where they're trying to, not make any sound and get past the zombies, which is a nice little concept. But it just is so anticlimactic. It just feathers out. It ends with a Brad Pitt kind of monologue over news sequences, and it's like, well, this is just the beginning. It's like, oh.
That's probably what they did. They're like, we don't know how to end this film. Brad, can you write and read something for us? Yeah, I'll just do this, and there's your ending. Brilliant. We're gonna make back our millions. I in a way, I actually am not gonna recommend this. Mainly because I did enjoy it. I did like the zombie apocalypse stuff. I did like the feral zombies were a cool touch, and they do scare me. But there was just he jumps on one plane and flies to one place. He jumps on another plane and he flies to another place. He jumped on one plane and flew all the way halfway around the world to Wales. And I couldn't believe it. I was sat there in the cinema. I've seen Jerusalem fall. I've seen New York fall. I've seen Philadelphia fall, And then I get to Cardiff. And it looks like my neighbourhood. It looks like I've just stepped out of my house. The only thing that was broken was a milk truck. There's an old woman looking out of a window like, oh, I'll just go back and watch Loose Women then, shall I? Just sit down. I was like, really? This is the best you can do with England. We're talking World War Z. You're supposed to have other countries actually go, you know what? We've built this set. Come over and film it here. Come over and film it there. Do this over here. Instead, we get Independence Day style America, being blown up and weakened and injured, and them then turning around and saving everybody. And what are the English doing? looking out the window. So I
waiting for it all to blow over.
just wait for it to blow over, sit there with a pint. I actually don't recommend this film to anybody who's read Max Brooks' book. If you've read the book, you're gonna be fucking disappointed. If you're a zombie, if you've seen a few zombie films, you know, you might enjoy it and it might scare you. But
this is a film for the mass market.
Yeah.
If you're a purist, then this film is just going to be a popcorn movie for you. So, like I said, I do recommend that you can still enjoy the movie. It's just not going to satisfy you as much as the best zombie movies out there.
Yeah.
Do.
If you're going for blood and guts, you're not going to get it here. You're going to get Brad Pitt and his family.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.